Murder, the gruesome killing of 22-year-old Karabo Mokoena, left the country reeling with shock. It is alleged that Karabo was murdered by her boyfriend, Sandile Manswi, who then burnt her. We spoke to some women from the Frida Hartley shelter, where Karabo spent some time addressing the needs of abused women.
Begang shaya most of the time, and then begang jela the way up better gunami, like I don't deserve ukuthi ngiqhubeke esikoleni, I just deserve ukuhlala endlini, just be. Begang biza nge housewife, whereby he did not marry me, but he will still tell me I'm his housewife.
South Africa is ranked highest when it comes to women dying at the hands of their lovers.
Yo, bengilimala kakhulu because begu, like on my face most of the time, will punch me ebusweni.
A picture of a bruised Karabo Mokoena was circulating on social media, others speculating that she was in an abusive relationship.
Sengiyabona manje nokushawa sekuseduze yamani. Washawa noma inini ngoba mangabe nje ayikho into usuhlala usaba ene umithi.
Karabo's death is seen as a reminder of the injustices instigated towards many other women who died like her.
People must understand that domestic violence, you don't meet somebody in the streets, actually in Mbama, and then you're like, oh, okay, you're good enough to be my boyfriend. You know, the normal perpetrator starts out as a nice, loving boyfriend. He loves you, he does things for you, he's caring, he'll open the door for you. And then it starts kancane kancane, and then it's the verbal, and then it's the emotional, and then it starts kancane physical. And obviously the last part would be the violence where somebody takes your life.
A protest was held outside Karabo's house by the ANC Women's League. This was not the only support. The DA and EFF had rallied outside the court during Sandile's appearance.
Patriarchy is entrenched in our being. Ukhuliswa uyintombazana ubafanele uyithobele indoda. Nathi singomama siye sibe nawunika abantwana bethu abangamafana amalungelo adlula lawo angamantombazana endaweni yoba sibakhulise sibabonisa ukuthi bayalingana.
Izwe zethu isibuhlungu as it is, asikwazi ukucopa as a family.
As expressions, we ask how many more women must die and what is society doing?
A really sad way to begin our show today. Our deepest and most sincerest condolences to the family of Karabo Mokoena. With that, we say good evening, South Africa, and welcome to Expressions. This is definitely the place for you to air out your views. Kina host yalena Jacqueline Maphala.
Gantige mina ngumxolisi wakwaMasango. Siza go subkhoma kungolesine kusihlwa. Namhlanje we are discussing femicide, the killings of women at the hands of abantu ababathandayo futhi ababakhonze kakhulu, Jackie.
Yeah, Mkolisi, it's a serious problem in our country. Just as the nation awakened to the brutal murder of Karabo Mokoena, allegedly by her partner a few days ago, 4 more bodies were found around Soweto. It was the body of Upopi Kwabe was found in Naledi on Friday, while that of her friend Ubongekeka Pungela was found in at least the neighboring Tladi township on Saturday. You can hear Mkolisi. I'm a little bit emotional actually as I'm doing this show.
Indeed, Jackie. And in a separate incident, Umzimba Galerato Wagwamloi was found in Naledi, while an unidentified body was also found in a dumping site Mfolo, Soweto. Karabo Mokwena's memorial service was held in Soweto, Izolo Loku. Siyabuza ke namhlanje kusihlwa, what kind of men are in our society? Siyabuza ukuthi should mhlambe ingalo yomthetho ithanda ukuqinisa in order ukuthi idile nazo leki lamkhuba we Jackie. Ngaphambi ukuthi singene phezulu kwalenkulumo, let's just quickly take a look at this insert that our producer Tule Tunjanga prepared for us.
Murder, the gruesome killing of 22-year-old Karabo Mokoena, left the country reeling with shock. It is alleged that Karabo was murdered by her boyfriend, Sandile Manswi, who then burnt her. We spoke to some women from the Frida Hartley shelter, where Karabo spent some time addressing the needs of abused women.
Begang shaya most of the time, and then begang jela the way up better gunami, like
We apologize for that. We just used the wrong insert. But I think the story that definitely needs to come across is just the importance of highlighting how much of a problem gender-based violence is in South Africa. But we're going to continue with the show and really unpack this topic that we're discussing this evening. I'm joined in studio by Lisa Vetten, who is a gender activist, and she hails all the way from Wits. Welcome to Expressions.
Good evening, Jackie. Thanks very much.
It's good to have you here. It's a bit of an emotional topic, isn't it?
It is, and I think it's a frightening and disturbing topic. It's the most extreme kind of violence. Most of us think that this happens to other people.
Yeah.
I think when you find it happening to somebody who epitomizes all the hope in life, she's young, she's beautiful, she seems to have a bright future ahead of her, it can be doubly shocking for people.
Lisa, we're definitely going to unpack that. If you're wondering what's happened to my co-host Umxolisi, well, he's obviously manning our social media corner, and he's going to be giving you a lot of insight and perspective coming from young people, basically by young people, when it comes to this pivotal topic. But I'm going to continue with this discussion with Lisa. I mean, Lisa, I love the fact that you were bringing across the importance of why an issue like this should at least be something that is center stage as part of our daily thinking. But now what happens after the headlines are gone? What happens when it's no longer trending? And we know that this is the daily experiences of women. How do we get to a place where there's real change, there's real impact, and the lives of women actually really matter?
There's a lot we need to do. I think the first thing we need to do is start asking ourselves, not just possibly abuse of men, but ourselves, why is it that we get upset about some victims but not about others? Because that is part of the problem. So I think we need to look at who is it that we pay attention to, and then when our attention goes off to something else, we forget that this is a problem in South Africa, and then 2 years later, suddenly we're up in arms saying, oh, this is increasing. It's not increasing. This problem, these numbers, they've been around for at least the last decade. So it's suddenly as if people have discovered what they think is a new problem, but it's been there all the time. And so I think we have to ask ourselves, why do we not pay attention on an ongoing basis? And why do we only pay attention to some victims, especially if they're beautiful, rather than all victims, regardless of how they look, what they do, or the like?
So what do you think is the real issue here? Because, I mean, we're saying, for one, that maybe the way we need to tackle this issue, at least the way to deal with this problem, is by throwing all these men in jail and saying, let's have harsher sentences, let's make sure that the laws are stringent. I mean, is that really the answer, or should we be looking at something a little bit deeper? Maybe a cancer in the way we socialize our men to begin with?
Well, I think firstly we have to understand that there's no magic silver bullet. There's no one solution which, when we put that in place, suddenly the whole problem is going to go away. So it means lots of different things. Not necessarily harsher sentence. I think consistent sentencing, so that we have fewer cases where nobody's ever arrested and nothing ever happens, but only a few get harsher sentences. We'd rather want all those who are, where their guilt is clear, to be tried. So we want the criminal justice system working more effectively. We also want to see protection orders enforced more effectively, because unfortunately a number of women who apply for protection orders are still murdered even when they have those protection orders. So we have to look at the question of policing and how we can make that much more effective.
So you find that the criticism as well is the fact that, well, these women go and report these cases, but at the same time they withdraw. What is going on? Why isn't there consistency, I think, from our side as women? Is there something that we're not seeing as to why women don't follow through?
Yes, I think there are a couple of reasons. The first we should remember is that many women still love their partners. They're not monsters all the time, as one of your previous guests was saying. They have good qualities as well, and a lot of women hope, if I love you enough, if I give you another chance, you're going to try, and you're going to be a better person. Many women are also economically dependent on their partners. If they leave, who's going to help them look after their children? Also, we have a bit of a housing crisis in this country. Where do women go if they do try and leave? So I think if we don't look at the complexities and we don't recognise the role, for example, that family and communities play, because they will often say to women, but why did you go to the police? We should have settled this in amongst ourselves in the family. You know, marriage is hard. You should have tried harder. You must persevere. So we also have to look at what role does family and community play in keeping women trapped in abusive relationships and withdrawing charges. So I think there's lots of things we have to look at.
And I think you're just showing us that it's not as black and white as we think. It's not a clear-cut issue, right? But I think just before we quickly go to break, we're seeing that as much as women are engaging each other, women are mobilizing, we're not seeing a lot of men being part of that mobilization. Why is there such little engagement? Why are men the ones on the streets and, you know, protesting and so forth?
I think because a lot of men feel defensive. you know, they feel that you're saying something bad about all men. They don't see themselves as being like that, and they feel it's very unfair that you are saying they are. Whereas I think everybody has the capacity for violence, and we should all be having a long, hard look at ourselves to see what is going on here. I think maybe that we should look at different ways of trying to talk to men, but I think we might also have to accept that power is a very hard thing to give up. And so maybe you might have to push the change instead of just waiting for the powerful to sit back one day and say, let me give up my power and be a better human.
We're going to go to a really short break, but you're going to have to ask yourself, we know that there is a hashtag men are trash. Does that help? Are we achieving the impact we want to see? We'll be back right after this.
Hi Expressions, I'm your street journal for the week. Behind me is Karabo's home. Can you please tell me what you heard, what happened as Karabo's friend?
It's scary for us. It's not something we expected or anything you want to hear, especially you being brutally murdered like that.
As a man, what can you say to other men who are committing such crimes and who are doing such things to women?
We have to protect our women in our South Africa because they are the ones who brought us in the world. And what they are doing now is not right. They have to get the justice on everything they're doing. So that guy must rot in jail.
There are conflicts in a relationship, and I don't condone men killing women because I believe it begins with us South African men to protect our fellow sisters, our mothers, our sisters, our daughters, because I'm a father to a daughter.
Karabo is like a childhood friend, and we actually grew up together. From school, well, although we went to different schools, but we'd always come home together, you know, and just enjoy ourselves as kids in the neighborhood. After hearing of the death, I was actually very shocked, and it was very hard to believe because it took time, you know, for me to accept it.
Funeka ureact njani xa emekweni enje yabona sisi ngoba ukhule nomuntu nazana nibencinci niphuphe nonke ekugqibeleni umuntu egqibeleseke funyana lo meke lo bafunyana kuyo yabo egqopho like you dream as young girls, right, ukuthi nizawuphelela phi, and then uve indaba ezibhlungu kanje ukuthi umuntu ufunyane njani ubulole njani ngendoda indoda eke I'm sure indoda yakho eke yamjonga emehlweni namxalela ukuthi yamthanda.
Age giving us blow-by-blow accounts of their fondest memories of their late friend uKarabo lapho siphaphatha ngazo zombili to our producer uThulethu wakantshanga for usihlanganisela lo mbiko. Now I'm joined by my expressioners ethu this Thursday, Umbilo kanye no Carlos. Good evening and welcome to Expressions, guys.
Evening, Mzo.
Carlos, the big question namhlanje kusihlwa mfethu siyabuza, what kind of men are we bringing up la eMzansi Africa? Amadoda anjani lawa adlengulayo abulalayo ayenza yazonke lezinto?
Well, basically, I can only comment on the issue based on my own experiences. And I would say that in South Africa, we are grooming a lot of proud men. Not that there is anything wrong in pride, but that pride becomes very destructive when it's at the expense of another person's happiness. And in order for men to maintain that pride, they are resulting to violent means. So I would say we're having very proud men in our nation.
Mbilo, before we went to the ad break, I saw you shaking your head and agreeing with something that was quite controversial, and that was hashtag men are trash.
Yes.
Why though? You had a very strong view when it came to this earlier.
Okay, so I think one of the things that facilitates an ongoing culture of abuse is when the good men in society see themselves as being very removed from the sort of men who can rape and kill. An important part of recalibrating and changing the way amadoda think about ubdoda babo and how they engage with women is to get men to understand that it can be anyone, right? To say, even if you aren't raping, look at the ways that you look at women's bodies. How many men would rape if rape wasn't legal? How many men, although they wouldn't rape themselves, would help cover up a rape if it was a friend? How many men don't necessarily believe that you should rape lesbian women to correct them, but still believe that being lesbian and being born without the desire for men is unnatural, right? And once you begin to see yourself that way, you understand that even if you're a good man, the views you have and the opinions that you have contribute towards allowing the more dangerous men to do the things they do, right? Every time we say something that is misogynistic, every time we say something, or every time we laugh at a rape joke, every time we turn the other cheek when our male friends do izinto, we allow men to continue abusing women because we give them the permission to. So all people are, like, all men are trash because all men have the capacity to be violent, and all men are complicit. Even if you don't necessarily participate in abuse, you benefit from the sort of environment that happens when women have less power than you, because you access a greater level of social privilege, right? So by being a beneficiary of the same ideas that harm women, by keeping quiet when those ideas are played out, you are in fact trash.
We can't say all men, Carlos.
Well, once again, I speak for myself. Not all men are trash. And I would trace this problem back to our moral upbringing. Basically, how you were brought up defines what type of a man you would be. And once again, I'm speaking for myself. Not all men are trash.
Okay, we got both sides of the coin in the studio. Let's quickly find out when la peka ngabe utini on our social media sphere. And of course, our men need psychological assessments, and they are aware of their problem, but they don't know who to turn to until they get to prison. Moving on to Tabi M says men are not encouraged to show emotions from a young age. They grow up trying to be strong. They should be encouraged to seek counseling. And of course, Umangema yena OT on our SABC News online platform. Nothing less than death penalty for murderers, because no one has the right or whatsoever to take someone else's life. Well, Rangwane yena on our SABC News online platform via official Mzansi for sure. Uti yena, hell yeah. How will it deter others if magistrates are giving those filthy criminals slaps on the wrists for their horrific actions? And of course, those are some strong opinions coming out there. And of course, Ubuguyise Gwala yena uthi hoyela Benekanti Kruger National Park Summit liu. Aybo, sibalahle emabhuwisini kanjalo nje wempilo. Do you agree with that comment?
So I don't think you should throw men to lions, because what you're doing is you're reacting after the problem exists. But we should definitely be looking at ways in which we redefine what masculinity is. So this idea, what Carlos says about men being proud, there's a problem when men in South Africa are proud because they're men. You should never tell someone that you being a man automatically means you ought to dominate, automatically means you should be proud. All right. And of
course, those are the views coming in on Expressions. There's more on this all-important Nkulumo Mpegiswano when we return. Stay with us.
Welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching Expressions, and today we are speaking about femicide. And the poll question that we're asking you, Gochaye, is simply this: is what kind of men do we have in our society? But I think most importantly, should harsher sentences be imposed to perpetrators? I think that's a very big question. I mean, I'm still with Lisa in studio with me, and I think a lot of strong sentiments came across. But I think let's now delve into the hashtag men are trash. Is that really the approach that we need to be having if we want to see, you know, change and impact and the lives of men and women being, you know, at least being able to move forward?
You know, I think it's a complicated hashtag. On the one hand, I think it expresses the real anger that we can't deny that is being felt. And it certainly makes somebody sit up and think, okay, what do I need to do about this? But the question is, do you want to be angry or do you want to change the situation? And generally speaking, if you're going to call men trash, they're going to shut down, get defensive and stop listening. And that means you're not going to be able to change their attitudes. So I think there's a way to express our anger, but it's not going to be the way we're going to change things. I think very often men who are abusive are often very thin-skinned men who are highly sensitive to feelings of being humiliated or being put down in any way. So that kind of hashtag reinforces their sense possibly of being victimized, which they respond to by being abusive. So I think, you know, if we're going to talk about how do we get men to behave differently, it does mean in some ways changing some of the conversations so they listen and don't shut down and get defensive and angry.
Yeah, and I think it was really important when we were speaking about this in the break to kind of say that the whole point of violence is that you're sort of diminishing the humanity of another person. But the minute you start to call somebody else trash, you're sort of, you know, a perpetrator yourself of the same thing you want to see stop.
Well, precisely. It's the same same thing with asking for the death penalty and harsh sentences. You're saying, let's respond to violence with violence.
Okay.
And if we as a society are going to be any different, we have to think, when we face with difficulty, how do we behave differently in a way that doesn't diminish another person or harm them or kill them?
I can't believe we've actually come to the end of our time. Thank you so very much for really giving us the insight that you've given us on this all-important issue. Thank you so much, Lisa. I want to now throw it back to Mxolisi. Mxolisi, what's happening on your side of the world?
Thanks very much for that, Jackie. And of course, Mbilo, you're a young woman who's thoroughly affected by what's been happening in Mzansi Africa. What would you like to see happening from here going forward?
I'd like to see accountability from men. I think that what we call men will make a difference. Men were raping and murdering women before we started calling you trash. Us calling you trash isn't making you do this thing. I think what's important is if calling you trash is what it takes for even the good men to look inside and introspect about their capacity to be violent, then we're one step closer to solving the problem if we all understand ourselves to be part of the problem.
And of course, Carlos, do you concur?
Yes, I would agree with her, and basically add to the point that we as men also need to get involved in such protests. That's one thing I would second her on.
And of course, I think it's all a collective effort, of course, between umphakathi kanye nathi, right? And it all starts on platforms like Expressions.
Yeah, definitely.
Thanks very much for that, guys. And of course, now lapha ekhaya njengoba wazi ukuthi sithanda kakhulu ukwazi ukuthi wena ngabe ufuna sikhulume ngani. Let's just quickly take a look at this week's video diary.
Hi Expressions, my name is Frank and I would like you to please talk about Africa Day. Why do we celebrate Africa Day every year on the 25th of May? How should we celebrate Africa Day? And also, is the youth of Africa really united? Thanks in advance.
Policy, definitely a topic I'm looking forward to. Make sure you catch our show next week as we discuss all that important topic. So remember, of course, Kochaye, send us your videos. We love to hear what it is you want us to talk about. I mean, Expression is your platform after all. So we definitely want you to engage with us, get involved, and give us more of those topics, right?
And again, I'm trying to we close off into Expression style like we normally do. Bagiti, do take care. Good night.
Bye.
With God, pain is just temporary, man. I dedicate this song to my role model. Mama, this is for you. For 9 months I never paid rent, but you kept me. 17 years, I can't remember you neglect me, sustain me, retain me. God is what you gave me, so indirectly I can say you're the one who saved me. You were tortured to death, and that's killing me. I will forgive, isn't that what you've been teaching me? Mom, ever since you left, life abuses me. You in heaven, tell God to get through with me. But for your sake, I'll never give in for a minute. Forever focused, I would ignore the girls in the meanies. And mama, how on earth did you make it having those haters? Oh yeah, I forgot you were a woman of many prayers. Deus maravilhoso, criador do céu da terra. That was your prayer, cause you knew always things would get better. Now begging God to tell you that I love you, cause I never had the chance. Well, I missed all of them. Said I always had